Did you know teachers aren't humans? They're not allowed to show stress or age, have health problems, show fear, waste time, and most of all, fail. They're not even allowed to go to the bathroom. That's okay, because we're here to talk about how we're all just playing a role. And at 3 o'clock, we get to be us again. 40 years ago, two 8-year-old boys were bored out of their minds in school, and they vowed one day they would do something about it. They did it to honor their friends. They did it to honor their classmates. They did it for the love of learning. I'm Matt, and this is Rob, and 40 years later, we get our turn, but now we're playing teacher.
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress. So what's up, guys?
I'm just watching Matt.
You know,
Working
Mother's Day is Sunday, by the way.
Oh, okay. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Briggy.
I wasn't saying that for
yeah, it's like you didn't even give us a chance. Like the first thing you said was, by the way, it's Mother's Day Sunday. Like, why haven't you said, What do you have?
I gave you plenty of notice. It was 30 seconds in.
What do you have planned?
I'm going to a tea house on Sunday morning with my fam.
Wait, what? What?
With my family. I'm going to a tea house in my town.
I thought you said I'm going to see a house, and I was like, what's wrong with your house?
No, my house is fine.
Yeah.
I'm just relaxing. What are you guys doing?
I'm looking at this link that Matt sent about
I left something upstairs. You guys got to talk for yourself. But I need to hook this up here. Am I ready?
Yeah. Okay.
So here's the topic. Talks amongst yourself, Mother's Day. I think that you just brought that up. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, man.
Did you look at the link? So,
Tell me.
did you look at the link that Matt sent? And this is for everyone out there. We're gonna have this link on the available for you to see. Also, it's basically we're me and Matt were talking about different types of teachers, right? And then we were just thinking, like, because we have so much fun, like doing analogies to media, we were like, what if we picked out like a professional wrestler from the past? Like, would we all agree like that it reminds us of a teacher that we've worked with or something, you know what I mean? Or that we've had or something, So he sent this article about a wrestler. I don't know if you remember this from just watching or having brothers, but his name was George the Animal Steel.
No, I actually was I was really into well, it's WWE now, right? Or is it WWF?
Yeah, WWE, formerly WWF, right?
Right. So like I used to go to matches. I used to go to Nassau Coliseum with my dad and my sister, and we used to watch it. So I was into it myself. But I don't remember the person that you just referenced. George, what was his name? George the Steel? Yeah, I don't know who that is. Maybe if I saw his face. I did not look at the video that Matt sent us, by the way. I'm the worst.
I'm going to give you a quick little glimpse here. Let me see.
Okay.
So here's the guy right here with the yellow background. You see him?
Oh, yeah.
He's a very hairy man.
I remember this guy.
Yeah, he's holding a stuffed animal. It says mine. Yep. So it turns out that this guy's name is Jim Myers. I didn't know any of this till Matt sent it. His name is Jim Myers. He was a high school teacher, an amateur wrestling coach, a football coach, and a professional wrestler. But no one like in his district or his students knew that he was a wrestler. Like, so he
crazy.
Yeah, he started out wrestling like this with this mask on, and yeah, we'll get into his story a little bit. But the best part of this is when we're going to show a video of him actually wrestling. And
you guys hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm back in. Just a little technical difficulty here. All right, so I have no idea what we're doing. Hey, it's George Animal Steel.
Yeah. I just did a little intro about how we're going to
Wait,
talk.
yeah, just but complete your thought. You were in the middle of something, and then I
Sorry.
don't.
Good.
No. I was just going to say, like, we're going to show a video so you can see when you see him in action. It'll, even if you weren't familiar with the name, you may just remember this guy because he's so kind of crazy in the ring. So, but he was
I
mad.
mean,
He never
I
spoke, right? Like he never spoke words.
No, he did actually speak before. Like I probably the um, I might be exact. I might be off on this, but like the 60s and 70s, he did speak, and then he just did the whole thing where he just stopped completely, and all he would say was, "Hey,
Yeah,
you, hey, you," and then and there he's ripping a turnbuckle there. And that actually started because originally someone threw a pillow at him in the ring. He didn't know what to do with it when he threw it in the ring. He's like, do I throw the pillow back? So he just started tearing at the pillow, biting it, and then the stuffing came out and it got stuck on his body and everything. It was like, oh, this is a pretty good gimmick. So then he just started ripping the turnbuckles eventually.
yeah, I do remember him. I don't remember all of that, but I do remember him.
He was a teacher. I don't know. See, I don't know if you guys talked about that before, but he was a teacher for many, many years. He would actually, he wore a mask, which was really cool. So the kids didn't know who he was when he wrestled. Finally, a student came up to him and was like, "Hey, are you that? Aren't you him? Aren't you?" And he wasn't called. I don't even know if he was called George Steele at the time. It might have been called something else. Aren't you that guy? And he's like, and he had a great response. He's like, "Do you think I'm that ugly?" Just covering it up. And
so
eventually he had to take his mask off.
so
And then his
Matt.
kids were probably so excited. Oh my God, to be a child and like that guy's classroom and say, "Oh my goodness, that's my teacher."
Yeah, it
So
was a different time back then. He did it in the summer and he did it like I think on the weekends. And then he would go to teach. He was a coach. Go ahead, Rob. I think
no, so I want to show a quick clip of him actually, just so that like Broogie can kind of see and hear like the George the Animal Steel magic, and also just the people at home. And then I also want to hold on a second. And then I want to get into like kind of like the game that we were talking about, where we'll say, okay, now that we've seen him and we've seen him in action and we've heard him, like, is there a teacher that this reminds us of that we've worked with or that we had when we were younger, right?
okay. All right.
Because like we're going to talk about like a couple of things, but one is like the different types of teachers that are out there, right? So, and I mean, like, and also just the idea that like this person that we're looking at, like the kind of funny, I don't know if it's funny or sad, but like it's not like outside the realm of like possibility or reality that this would be someone that we would work with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ba- ba- based on like based on the people we've worked with historically, sometimes.
All right. So we got to describe the video, I guess, when you show it, because people won't be able to see
Yeah.
it unless
Yeah.
we hook up the.
Matt, why don't you lead us? We never did the intro. Why don't you do the intro, and then I'll start working on the technical part of this, getting this up and
Sure.
running.
Welcome to Playing Teacher, and we had I'm Matt, this is Rob, and this is Beanie here, and we had a great topic today called incentives, but apparently we're talking about George the Animal Steel.
And
No,
contraception.
okay.
And yes, I texted you guys both last night, and you guys hearted the topic,
Oh,
but
let's do
apparently we're talking about George the Animal Steel today, which is great.
no. Let's still do the topic, but let's just do this little vignette on George the Animal Steel. Because
Okay.
didn't we talk about like the reason why you sent all those clips? We said like
No, I
each
know. Yeah, I've
yeah
been crazy sending you guys. I know things about George the Animal Steel. I
okay
just never know what direction we're heading.
um
But, when I sent incentives, the best kept secret or a false hope, and talking about it, Brugi wrote down. What was the first thing you thought of, Brugi, when I wrote that?
Well, because I saw inceptives, and I
I
guess it
spelled
like
it wrong. Yeah,
auto corrected, and I
yeah.
thought, and I quickly saw I don't know why I saw contraception.
I
But
spelled it
like,
wrong. Yeah.
why are we talking about birth control?
But I think maybe after I explained it,
No,
like
I
the
think you spelled it right.
rewards, I don't know, but I did explain
No, Matt,
the rewards you would get.
Matt, you,
Toys.
Matt,
It
you,
said toys.
no, Matt, don't be nice. You clearly wrote incentive, and she clearly just her
I
mind
wasn't
just
being
took
nice.
it took her mind. Her
I was
mind took
wondering how
her.
you.
Her mind took her to contraception. Like
Time out. I'm literally looking at this text message. It for 100% says
I think
incentives. It says
yeah,
incentives.
I
really?
So
spelled it wrong. But
I
what
thought,
did I write? What did I write after that
well,
though?
Yeah.
That would
exactly. I
ins-
mean,
I
you
wrote
would think that
after
I would
incentives. I explained it completely, like the
prizes and
prizes.
toys.
What did I write? The prizes that like Robin used to
Toys,
give out.
Yeah.
Toys,
Yeah.
yes.
spending
Okay.
your own money. Yes. No,
Right,
I know, but when
And
exactly.
it
her brain
pops
But
still
yeah,
up,
and her
right.
brain still
No,
went there. Her brain
no,
still
and
went to
sometimes
contraception.
listen. No, listen. Sometimes you got to protect yourself if you go to see a hooker, so that makes sense. And I understand Brooey's point as well.
Okay, here's George the Animal Steel versus Macho Man Randy Savage in the Boston
Hmm,
Garden
it's a good segue.
Arena, September 6th, 1980.
Watch out now. Oh, George has got a bite on.
He bites his arm.
And George just sunk his teeth into it. Boom, and over the top rope and down to the canvas. But Steele isn't phased by that either. What do you have
That's a
to do to
classic
hurt
block
this
of a
man? Where's he
clothesline.
going?
He's going into the ringside. He's got a steel chair. A wooden chair, I beg your pardon. Savage ends up with a nice block by George. Look out.
I love that he's a teacher.
This match is completely out of control at this point in time. Just about to ram him in, and now the tables turn.
He teaches gym. So he has gym class Monday morning, and this is what he's doing Saturday night.
Savage has done
Well,
this several
I mean, this
times.
opens up
He's
another
Steele,
topic
but
too, which
Steele
is like
just keeps coming
the
back
unfortunate
and
reality that like
back. Now
teachers
let's see if he can
teachers
get back.
typically have to find like
And
second
no
jobs
Savage of attacks.
to support themselves. You know, so here's George the.
I
Yeah.
don't think that Randy Savage has two chairs.
Two chairs, two steel
chairs
chairs.
coming.
Now that makes a total of three
Well, two
chairs
is better
inside
than
the
one.
ring.
He threw
The
two
referee
chairs.
hasn't seen fit to
Three
eliminate
chairs,
any of them
actually.
yet. And now look at this. Oh, a shot in the back. And out goes the champion. The bell is rung.
I would love to see him tearing
Yeah,
apart
I
the.
have a
Oh, here we go.
disqualification
He must have done it at some point here.
You know,
you were going to say it opens up another topic
Going
of
after
escaping.
Savage.
as a crazy
Savage
wrestling
again.
fan,
Right behind George.
Savage is going back.
There he
Savage
is.
is the IC
Oh, look
champion
at
right
that.
now. This is a title match.
Stuffs the stuffing right into the face.
There he goes.
Both
What
of
I'm
these
talking
guys
about.
want a piece of each other in the worst way.
Well, Savage made a mistake there. The first time he came in, he got away with it. The second time he
I love that he
did, but not
thinks
this time.
putting the stuffing in his
Steele
face hurts.
absolutely
Yeah, I like that too. It's kind of. It's like.
It's the best. No, but just to clear it up, so George the Animal Steel, all right, big hairy guy there. He was going after the Intercontinental title, and he didn't win it because he was so crazy, that he got disqualified, And I can definitely see a few teachers losing out when they might, lose their mind in class or something, and that would probably hold them back from advancing in their career as well.
If you're
I'm reaching here.
No, if you're a teacher out there, I want you to do this game that we're about to do right now. If you looked at the clip or if you know George the Animal Steel, me, Matt, and Broogie are going to do this now. The three of us right now. Don't think too hard. Just think of the first teacher that comes to your mind that we've worked with, and let's send it. Like, just text it. Put it in our group text. And
Okay. See if we're right.
Yep, to see if we're all on target.
All right.
And I think that any teacher out there who has other friends who are co-teachers could probably do this, and they'll probably have someone in their building who this like.
Okay, I sent mine. Burger and I. Wait,
Yeah,
Rob,
that's
you just
mine
said
too.
yours.
That's mine too.
Okay,
All right.
I mean,
That's great.
100%.
Yeah. All right. So all
Yeah.
three of us picked someone, and this person's not a man. Not a man, actually. This person is a female teacher that we all worked with, and we all agree that George the Animal
Yeah.
Steel reminds us of this person. So
Yes,
I
and
mean,
they're not bald too. You know, so,
No.
but,
no,
yeah,
and she was
personality trait. Yeah,
I
confirmation.
mean, yeah, she was an animal. She was an animal.
impulsive, very impulsive.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Not Harry. I mean, she definitely
No,
danced.
no,
But that's the best part. It's not.
Female
It has
species,
nothing to
yes.
do with
Not-
physical.
That's why I
No,
said it wasn't a
obviously,
physical.
I was
Like he wasn't bald and
joking.
hairy. Yeah.
Yes, it was
But
a joke.
right. I mean, actually, we wouldn't really know if someone's hairy because they weren't clothes. But she wasn't bald. Right.
All right. So let's Matt. Let's honor the topic that you brought up and remembered then, which is incentives, right? So
I like your topic better. Then let's just keep talking about George Animal Steel.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about incentives. Yeah. I could do this all day. I was trying to explain that he didn't, he got so worked up that he didn't get to win the Intercontinental title. So he got himself disqualified by doing all that. It's a title match. That's how messed up George Steele was. He couldn't.
Wait, but I thought wrestling was fake.
Oh man, she did the fake
Oh
word.
God, here we
Wait,
go.
all right, I got to bring out my
Wait,
Randy Savage
stop.
call.
Wait,
if you're
time
seeing
out.
this switch, you're not, because I don't think we figured out how to hook it up where you see us. yet.
No, it's on
But,
YouTube. They have to go to YouTube. They can see your bobblehead of Macho Man Randy Savage.
Okay, they could see it on there. 'Cause I
Isn't it
can't.
acting? Isn't it act? I mean,
All right,
obviously,
anyway.
I know it's not fake. I know they have to be physically fit, and like, there's definitely.
Oh
routines,
yeah,
but
I
I'm
don't
just
agree
saying-
with you. All right, I might have passed away, but I got something to say to you right
But
now.
isn't there a script? Like, wasn't he disqualified because of the script that was written for him? Or am I losing my?
Back in the day, we didn't use scripts. Maybe they use some of it today. Maybe we get into the ring, right? Okay. And we kind of just feel it out how we want to go. But the only thing that they let us know is who's going over at the end, So in that regard, it might be predetermined, but how you get there and all the physical and emotional stuff that goes into it, that's 100% real. Understand that, Briggy? Huh? Oh, yeah.
So wait, can I make another analogy to teach? So Broogie, like if as a teacher or doing what you do too, you could write a lesson plan, right? You can have it all laid out, everything, every detail attended to. But the reality is, like, when the kids are there and you sit down with it, it's not going to go that. It's usually not going to go that way, right? Like there's going to be some like derivation from the plan. There's going to be some ad-libbing. There's going to be there's going to be times when it's just like, oh, this whole lesson plan is out the window.
Most of them do it that way. I have to say, though, the guy that I'm actually mimicking right now, he was a detail freak. So it's kind of ironic. I'm holding him up. He liked to do it step by step by step by step.
Yep.
Even bugging some of the other wrestlers because they like to go in there and just like they say call it in the ring. They just like to maybe one person leads or the other person leads and they figure it out along the way.
Oh, there's like a term for it. Call it in the ring.
Yeah,
called in the ring. Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't realize that. What would you say that for a teacher? Like, what would be the name of that? For like what we do, what you're talking about, Rob.
There's a few things. Go ahead, Rob.
No. I was gonna say. I think the word improv is fitting. I mean, especially since we have our like mixture of like acting and teaching and everything else. But I think improv is the right way to go. But in wrestling, though, Broogie, do you remember like in the beginning of every match, it's almost like the two guys would like.
Lock up.
They would lock up, right? So they would like kind of get into this hold where their heads are next week, right? And then they're whispering to each other. You know what I mean? Like they're saying, "Okay, I'm gonna throw you." I'm gonna throw you into the ropes. Like, okay, it's or
if you watch really close, you can see it.
But it wouldn't even be a full sentence. Like if me and Matt locked up, I might just say clothesline. And then he would understand that I'm going to throw him into the ropes and I'm going to try to clothesline him. And then he might duck under it. You know what I mean? Like, and so a lot of times the matches would flow that way. And so,
you got to realize also there's a referee in the ring. So a lot of times they'll whisper to the ref, like, tell him not to touch me. I'm kind of hurt right now and things like that. That's why that guy, that guy or girl's out there. right now. There's more female referees these days also, by the way. Just like don't, tell them to give me, so they're walking around and telling different notes to each other that they can't relate to the other person, especially if they're not right next to each other right now, especially if they get hurt.
Yeah, and then I think another great word is attunement, which we've talked about before. So like there has to be attunement between the two wrestlers so that because they want to protect each other, even if, it seems like they hate each other, but they don't want to hurt each other necessarily. But it's the same thing as like attunement between like teacher and student or teacher and co-teacher. You know what I mean? So it's like,
wasn't there like a curriculum or something called Schools Attuned, or I
yeah,
don't know.
yep.
Yes.
I'm just using that word because
Okay.
it's a fitting word, but it's kind of
Right.
like if I'm in the room with a group of kids, like there unless it's the first day, like there are things that they know about me and there's things that I know about them, and it's like we have an understanding. And Matt actually talked about this before, like where sometimes an administrator walks in and the kids kind of know, like there's an understanding between the teacher and the kids, like, okay, we have to switch gears, and the teacher's not going to like speak the same way that they normally do. They're going to like put on this little act for the for the administrator who's like checking boxes, and the kids are going to not necessarily act the way they normally would.
Yeah, they're all code switching.
Everyone's in on it too,
Right. Yeah.
I remember like when the teacher would leave, I would always say if they were really, really good, and and I'm aware that, if things went off and then they were cool. I would stop and look at them, and before we moved on, I would say to them, and this can kind of tie into incentives too, I would say, I just want you all to know, you're all on my cool list right now.
Yeah.
I know that you were being watched, and I always say it's like for them. I don't want to think like I'm being watched, But and I know that I changed direction. I might have promised you we were going to do something else, and I changed, and you guys just went along with it. So and I was like, so like we're playing ping pong next week. I'm like, oh yeah, we're playing ping pong.
Yeah.
We are definitely playing ping pong next week. The table will be set up.
Yeah. This is the perfect segue to rewards and incentives, right?
Yeah,
Because I mean, that's like at the very basic level, the promise of something is a reward. Like it's like like it's.
As a teacher, that's when I want to, because I'm not. They just did a huge favor for me. If I'm getting observed twice a year, you know what I mean? Like the least I can do is set up the ping pong table for them, and show my appreciation. Look, they should be good all the time, but the bottom line is, it's a lot of pressure for them. And it's a lot of pressure for me. Somebody just to stand there and watch you and take notes while you're working. And, maybe they were in a bad mood, but they still did what they needed to do. And just, they know easily they could have just misbehaved or did something, and it would have probably thrown things off. Kids have a lot of power in the classroom. Go ahead.
I hate when people say, rewards are bribes, because like to me that they're totally two separate. Like rewards in education is really just about changing behavior, right? You're supposed to be using the rewards as an incentive over time, and over time it's supposed to change behavior. But like there were many old school teachers who were like, I don't reward my students because that's a bribe.
Yeah.
I come in, I yell, they have to do what I say. They have to be respectful. And like, you might get students that were afraid, and that's not a way to, that's not conducive to learning, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, but that teacher's probably an alcoholic when they leave school.
No, I mean there was like Alfie Kohn, like the Alfie Kohn movement, where it's like no rewards, like nothing extrinsic, no extrinsic rewards, because it's like and it's a misunderstanding of motivation. You know what I mean? It's a misunderstanding.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I always would give things out, and I followed my instincts when I did it. I just trusted if somebody figured out something like a magic trick that I did, that's what I would have these things going on for a while, and Rob, you're one of my teachers with these tricks. And, and if somebody finally figured it out, I would build it up so high, like the longer it went on, I would just say like, Well, if nobody figured out, the prize that you're going to get is going to be that much greater. You know, like it's going to be like that car. No, that it's not going to be that car. It's going to be the most amazing car you ever seen. Now, here's where it's a hard challenge for me. Any moment that kid could figure it out. So I better really think about what freaking car I'm going to get this kid. Otherwise, I lose face in front of the kids.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Right.
happened sometimes where they figured it out, and then I would have to cover it because I didn't have the car, and I'd be like, I would give it to you today, but it's so amazing. I couldn't even carry it in. You know what I mean? And I would.
Yeah.
I would hold my end of the bargain. I would just get some crazy prize for the kid, you know, like the next time. So they would think about it all week and, you know, and I would give it to them. But things like that was one of the ways I used it. You know, there's a lot of different ways. And a lot of teachers will disagree with it, you know, like different ways and why they use it.
Yep.
You would we used it together as a group for PBIS. That's a form,
Yeah.
positive behavior intervention support. We had like a cart going around, right?
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
was the rewarding of good behavior, basically, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with
Being
currency,
good, kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they would get a currency that they can spend on things, you know, or they get to spend. But I mean, you know what the thing I liked about PBIS, what was the most valuable prize the kids got when they did PBIS?
Rugi wouldn't
Well,
remember, I think.
To me,
in general, like a general category of prize. I
yeah,
think,
so it was time with teacher to
Yes.
me was the most important
Yes.
for the kids.
Yep.
Like it wasn't something tangible that they
No.
could hold. It was definitely time spent with
Yeah.
an adult
You're
that
right.
they
Yep.
considered like, you know,
Forgot about
that
those.
makes them
That's
feel
right.
good.
Yeah,
you know?
they could earn enough like cred basically to
So,
have
like-
lunch with us in the
Mhm.
science room or something, you
So
know.
like PBIS or like positive, like all of those systems that are put in place are so. I love those systems. And if every single teacher is on board, it
Yes.
works. It works.
Yeah.
100% will
Right.
work.
They
If
call
you
it
don't
buy-in.
have buy-in,
if you don't
then
have, right.
it's not going to work.
Yeah, and a lot of
Yep.
teachers out there hate PBS, and I think that's because it manifests differently in different places depending on buy-in and depending on how well they do it. You know, it's like
Right. It's like you can't pick and choose. It's not
Yeah.
like a McDonald's menu where you're picking and choosing. You have to do it
All in.
all or
You have to be all in.
all in.
And they also have to almost get rid of their own system that they had in place. It's like we're saying we're going to go with a school system now for it. So if
Yes.
everyone's
Right.
on board, you know, so it was a lot of trust in this system, and then we were the ones to go and like almost try to sell them on it. You know, we would explain it, you know, and what this is.
And we had the leader of the school who was, you know, really
Yeah.
into it as well. And so like
Yeah.
everyone was, you know, had participated. And then when the leaders shift, that's when like the
Yeah.
shift of the system shift, you know, systems fall apart.
I think it had a good year run, right?
When
Yeah,
we-
a few
when we
good
were the-
years.
when we
Few
were the-
years, yeah.
when we acted as the three superheroes, like me,
Yeah.
me, you, and Neil, basically, and we did these
Yeah.
things in the auditorium, like presentations, and we would go around the
Yeah.
school.
Oh, that
dressed
was
as-
big.
It was.
No, they were into it.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
working really well, right? But then if
Yeah.
that all falls apart, it changes, you know.
Right. I mean, it was just three things that they had to really follow.
Yeah.
Respect,
Determination.
determination, and responsibility.
Yeah, that's right.
What I also loved about it was like teachers would practice with their kids how
Yeah,
to sit
yep.
in an auditorium, how to walk in the hallways, because kindergartners, first graders, pre-K, like they don't know how. They're fooling around. Like it
Yeah.
was nice to actually see them practice because without those systems in place, you have kids in the hallway and all you hear from teachers is shh, shh,
Yeah.
be quiet, be quiet. It's like that's not
I don't even think like that. It's more like stop it.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah, like stop it. Stop
Wait, I want to
talking.
give Broogie a quiz. Broogie, what were the names of the three superheroes that me, Matt, and Neil were, represent the qualities that we represented
Oh,
as superheroes?
Who were we? Which ones were we?
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. I don't even know if I know that one. Okay, but I can. Okay,
All
go ahead.
right. All
I
right.
do.
There was the Determinator.
Yes,
There
the
was
Determinator.
Determination.
You played that.
I don't know. There was there
Mm.
was determination, respect, and responsibility. Were those the three?
Right. Those
Determination.
are the characteristics we said.
Yeah,
Those
but
are
Yes.
behavioral
what are the
characters.
character
Okay,
names
so-
for
What was
respect
the
and
character?
responsibility?
You got the Determinator.
Respectabat.
Nope.
Respectabat.
Nope.
Determinator.
The Determinator
that
is
already.
correct. Yeah.
Yes, but
Responsibat.
Responsibat, very good.
Spot is good.
Okay.
Yes, and what about the respect
And
one?
the respector.
Okay.
Yes, very good.
Did you just pull out the
Okay.
poster in your car and look at it while
No,
you're okay?
yeah, while I'm fucking driving on Southern Highway.
Or maybe you have a picture of it. You have a picture of it on your phone. Probably.
You would
No,
pull,
I don't.
you would pull over and do that.
Yeah,
though. I can see her
absolutely.
do- it almost
100%.
I-
Okay.
Yeah, well
I
now
don't.
you're now.
Look,
but
she's
it
not
could be in the
driving.
back
She pulled
seat.
over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she pulled over, looked in the back seat, happened to have like one of the posters left because you said you had one still, right?
So
And
I do. Classroom.
wait,
yeah,
so
I was
Matt,
the-
Am I off?
like,
yeah.
now who was who? Let me and Brookie
Yeah.
work on this together because I think Neil was Responsibot.
Yes, he was.
I mean that of course, right?
Yeah.
But then I'm trying to. I mean, I was one of them, and I can't even remember. I think
What can you not remember?
I don't know. I don't. I think
Come on.
I think
I
I
don't
was.
remember.
I think I was
Based
respectful.
on based on our personalities, who would be the Terminator with what you do and what I do during a presentation for the kids, and who would be the respector?
I would think you were the determinator and that I was respectful.
No.
It's the
No,
other way
I
around.
would say the
I-
other way around.
I was the determinator.
Yeah, because I got to introduce you. You know,
Oh,
like
man.
I was more like the MC talking about respect, and then I brought my buddy the Responsibot in, and he talked.
Oh,
you know,
man. Okay.
and then I was like, and now here he comes, everybody, making his way. He was just walking around the world, and now he's here, and and I think
All right,
originally
guys.
I wanted you to come in on a bike, and then I was like, the Terminator.
Broogie, go ahead.
What? Yeah.
So I'm like totally switching gears, but like, did you ever see? What's your favorite scene in T2?
I thought you were going to get us back
Uh,
on topic with incentives, but no.
Yeah, this is
Further,
has
further off topic.
nothing to do with.
What's your favorite scene in T2? What is it?
Well, I'm well. Before we get there, I'm just going to say, well, incentives was a winner because we stayed on for about 5 minutes after a half an hour of Georgie Animal Steel. I'm starting to
Do you
realize I
guys
suck
have-
at picking out
Do
these.
you guys have a
Wait,
favorite scene
Is
in
T2 the one where he was made of liquid metal?
Yes.
So like I loved when he got shot in the face and he just morphed back in like the liquid
This
metal.
is not the one with Edward Furlong, though, right?
It is. And
is.
do you remember the dog's
Oh, okay.
name?
Oh my god.
No, I don't remember the dog's
I didn't
name.
know you were such a T2 Terminator fan.
Oh my god. That was one of my faves. I've seen that so many times. So many times.
Hey, I like that one too. I like that one also.
All right, but what's your favorite scene?
I don't, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of my favorite. I don't know if I have a favorite scene. I got a kick out of the stuff with Edward Furlong and Arnold Schwarzenegger. You were just trying to teach him and stuff, teach him how to be human. It was just, funny stuff. I don't remember which action scene I liked.
Clearly,
well.
she has a scene that she wants to tell us about. So
Yeah,
why
I like
don't
that
you
he
just-
I like that he was a good guy in that one because
Why
he was
don't you
always
just tell
like
us-
the bad Terminator.
I'm acting it for you.
when he's running really fast.
Oh
Yes. And they drive out and T2 comes running out, but he's like almost like robotic.
Yeah.
And he turns his hands into metal
Oh yeah. Yeah.
hooks, and
Yep.
he hooks into the car
Yeah.
and jumps on the car. So
That's how Steven Seagal runs. You ever see Steven
Yeah,
Seagal run? He
yep,
runs like
yep,
that
yep.
also, with his
That's
hands
right.
out like that. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
I have a
I have to see
question.
that movie now.
I have a
Yes.
question, and this could be for either of you. If you can think back, what was like an example of like one of your most famous incentives? And now it could be something that you never delivered. Like it's something that you promised and that the kids like worked towards but never achieved, or it could be something that you actually or it could just be something tiny that was your most successful one. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be something amazing, but amazing to the kids to the tune, to the extent that they would basically do anything to get it,
Okay. I can go. I'm going to go back to when we were teaching science,
Yeah.
the Secret Science Society.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to just getting the incentive was just to get into the club.
Yes. All right.
Because we built up for such a long time.
Yeah.
To get in, they would just have to write all these questions. We had that wall of questions. There were probably 10,000 questions on a wall, and they would just have to come up with a certain amount. And then we put off the club for so long, and eventually we finally did it. Then it was like, okay, wait, what the hell are we going to do with this club? I remember then just when I finally, I think I picked up I don't know, maybe 5 to 8 kids from lunch, and the look on their face, because we gave them badges, right?
Yeah.
And it just said SSS.
Yeah.
It was it was like a secret science society. And then it was like, all right, so what are you actually going to do? And then, I think I met him in the hallway, and I gave him, we gave him each a pack of something, and it wasn't about that what it was, but it was just the feeling that they're in this thing, the secret science society. I remember how happy it was. And I remember when they finally did it. I think there was such such amazing feeling getting picked up to go. We're finally going. We're going. I don't know what's going to happen, and and it was the prizes were cool, and I showed them some, I don't know, maybe a trick or some kind of science project they could take home, to start. But that was cool. That one stayed with me as one that was cool for them.
That is pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I really have to think about that. Something that they're always excited about going into my prize bin, because I have prizes that they actually want,
Yeah.
I'm not just giving them shitty pencils. But I don't know. It's a good question.
I have one more that popped, but if you want to go first, go ahead.
Yeah, one that I had that was classic was so the in the classroom there was a drop ceiling. If I don't know if people may not know what that is, but it's kind of there were these foam panels that make up the ceiling, and they're held on by this aluminum framing basically, right? And I found these hooks in a gardening store that would hook onto the aluminum framing so we could hang stuff from the ceiling, right? Which we weren't supposed to, but we did anyway. And so we would have pendulums and everything. And one day I was sometimes I just hung stuff up there as storage, because it was we had so many things in the room. So I hung a red bucket up there, right? And then for some reason, the kids, all different kids, different classes, different ages, became obsessed with this bucket. What's in the bucket? What's in the bucket? And I would always say nothing, right? Because there was nothing in there. Nothing. And then they didn't believe me, right? They're like, no, what's in the bucket? What's in the bucket? And they would convince themselves there was something amazing in there. So I had this thing went on for years, where it was if X, Y, and Z happens and blah, 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 then when you graduate, I will reveal one day I'll reveal what's in the bucket. And I remember there was a 5th grade graduation when I got up there, and I was the MC or whatever. And I walked out with the bucket, and they went absolutely crazy, because now I'm going to reveal what's in the bucket. Right. And so I just, and then when I showed them and there's nothing in there, you know what I mean? I had been telling the truth the whole time, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, and then it was just a funny thing, you know what I mean? But it was the power that unknown thing had over them was unbelievable to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was on their mind all year.
But how powerful, talk about power. I don't know, that is an incentive, right?
What a great incentive is just the promise of revealing something that they want, that they're curious about, right?
Right.
I remember.
I think I asked you what was in the bucket.
Yeah.
And also, I love how you started off by saying we hung things from the ceiling. We weren't allowed to, but we did it anyway.
We did it anyway.
Well, they were like, "Oh, that's a fire hazard." I'm like, "Whatever. It's not a fire hazard, okay? What is a bucket going to catch on fire? There's water in there. Okay, so
Come on,
it's not a fire.
half the school could fall apart any day.
Yeah, yeah. And they're worried
The
about
ceiling
hanging.
was half in and half out in every room. Anything could fall over at any time.
When we would put the Star Lab up, it would basically break the ceiling anyway. Like the whole ceiling would get pushed up, and
I
because it didn't
personally
fit.
broke the ceiling myself with a science experiment once.
I used to shoot the rockets up into the ceiling, and like they
Yeah,
smash into the.
I did a chemical reaction. I poked a hole in it. All the kids froze. They're all staring at me, and I'm like, and then it was like we had 10 seconds of silence, and then I'm like, and then they looked at me like, we won't tell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't worry. No, I'm not, I'm going to turn myself in. It's not your fault, guys. I think I told. Oh man, remember I used to teach piano there, right? And they didn't have. This was one of the problems, like when I would do like teach piano, is a lot of our kids were poor, so they couldn't practice at home. So I don't know how other teachers feel about it, but I would remember spending like on my weekends, I would like look for keyboards that I can just
Mm-hmm.
give them, affordable, like not like from like the real music stores, but ones that can find in like discount stores, but that still played and ran by battery,
Yeah.
just so because you could still learn the notes and practice, but bigger than small ones. And I remember I gave one to, I think it was one of the PTA's kid was there, and I remember and I was like, well, you need it to practice. Like, when should I bring it back? No, 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 keep it at home. These are for you, so you can, how are you gonna, if you really want to learn, you got to really work on it. And I remember the mom came up to me like maybe a year later or a few months later, and she just really appreciated it. I don't know. It was one of those
Yeah.
things, like, it made me feel so good.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
Yeah.
I didn't break the bank on it, but it was like one of those things that did mean a lot to them. You know what I mean? Like, and,
Right.
I realized these incentives can really, it goes a long way sometimes if you think about it like that.
I know. I just remembered too what my greatest incentive was, and still to this day with my private clients, I use this. And whether I'm working with a kid whose family has billions of dollars or working with a kid at school, it works just the same. There's no difference whatsoever. And that is the ticket system, right? So I don't know where I was. I was in Staples or I don't know, that like the craft store like Michael's, and I found a roll of tickets basically that that they give out for raffles and stuff. And the way the tickets work is that they're basically, it's two layers. Let's say there's 30 kids in a room, you can like rip off 30 tickets, and then you rip it in half, and I keep one half, they keep the other, so there's a matching number. And then I throw my half into a bin, and if like in theory I would pick out a number and read it, and one of them would win. It would be the matching ticket to one of their tickets. So, every so often I would give out tickets to a raffle, right? But the raffle could be anything. Like it doesn't matter what the prize is. That's the key. Like with the kids, they don't really care. They love chance. They love the having of the raffle. Just like in like games like Fortnite and Minecraft with like lucky blocks. They love the idea of an unknown prize that they're going to get. It doesn't, like, they just
It's
want to
the
win it.
best.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. So the psychology of winning, basically, right? It's like the psychology of like winning by chance. And
Kind
so
of like
like,
figuring out a magic trick too,
yeah, I
you
mean, like
figure it
just
out.
just having my
You
number
don't
match
know.
their number and coming up, and one of the things I would give out though is if they won a raffle, and I probably did a raffle like once a week at most, was they would be able to choose one of my monkeys from my monkey collection, because I had like hundreds and hundreds of monkeys in the room.
That was
That
awesome.
was like, forget about it. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I ever had anything as powerful or as great as that for an incentive. And it wasn't, I never incentivized the doing of work. So it was never like, and I never gave homework. I don't believe in homework. If you believe in homework out there, then I'm sorry, you're wrong. But for elementary school, a kid shouldn't have homework. That's mandatory. But so anyway, like I never incentivized like, oh, if you do your homework, you're gonna get a ticket, or if you do your classwork. It was never like that. It was more like just, kids going above and beyond. Like, that kid who at the end of the class would just start cleaning up under the table without you saying anything. Like there was always those kids who were just like, being extra helpful. You know what I mean? Like doing or being especially welcoming for the other kids in the class. Like, really, which is really like PBIS in
I
essence.
remember this kid, and he like drove me crazy. And just this is not exactly an incentive thing, but he would just. I remember towards the end of the year when he was graduating, almost, he would go, and he was one that would just he had a really good heart, but he would drive people crazy on it, teachers crazy on an everyday week. But I just remember him starting towards the end of when he was going to graduate, always going back and making sure like the desk was clear, not for an incentive, just because he was almost like saying goodbye to me. You know what I mean? And like, and I just noticed it, and I would always say like I really appreciate that. That you're looking back and just a shift almost to say like I'm sorry I was such a pain, and I'm leaving. I'm gonna miss you, but I'm just gonna make sure this area you made for me is clean now. Maybe I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have. That I don't know. I might be overthinking it, but these are the things I'm thinking about. And he had no other reason to do it than just to do that. It was cool.
What's Speaking of incentives, what are the greatest incentives for teachers? So for example, like let's say that you needed a favor from a teacher, like what's something that you might offer? So like just a quick example would be like, oh, I'll come 5 minutes early when it's
Time.
something like that, right? Like
100% is time.
yeah. Or taking someone out of their room. Like sometimes if a teacher was going to be observed or something, like there would be a favor, like if there's a really really bad kid in the room, like it would be like, oh, can I send like Jacob into your room while you know what I mean while I'm getting observed, like that kind of thing, like these under the table like
Oh, I never
agreements.
did that.
Yeah,
That's a great thing, though, man. I
yeah,
I
never even
do
thought of
it.
that.
I do it all
I
the
wish
time. I
yeah.
I
still
wish I
do
could
it.
have did that.
See,
I
Brody's
still do it.
Wish I thought of
Brody,
that.
you could be
But
cleaning
I
up at school
but
because
I'm
like
not looking for, yeah, I don't like, I'm not looking for anything. I don't do it. Like, it's interesting. It's interesting because I could probably like
yeah.
get favors from this, but I don't. Like, I don't know. Like, I'll say, like, I automatically, because I would hate, I put myself in their shoes. I would hate to be observed and have, one of the students who's, I don't know, severely disabled or behaviorally disabled, right? Like,
I had a kid. I had a
wrecking
parrot
havoc.
take him out. I had a parrot take him out, and I didn't know that the parrot did. And like he took him kind of down the hallway for a walk, just because she didn't want my thing to get screwed up with what was going on. And like he was starting to act up, and I said like, oh, I was like, thank you. You know what I mean? It was such a, she was just
Well,
thinking about,
also,
she knew like, how important this was. And I think she also didn't want to be like almost looked at that way with that
well,
pressure.
well,
So, and he probably changed because he know he's being looked at. So she just said, let me take him for a walk and change his scenery a little
well,
bit.
also because they have a clipboard with like a rubric, right? Of like what they need to capture in order to observe you for you to receive, like, it's so
Yeah,
stupid.
right.
So if you are in the classroom and you have a student who has behavioral difficulty and
Yeah.
you can't think because you're managing his behavior, then you're not going to do well in your observation, which is such bullshit, right? So
Yeah.
like,
Well,
always for the past 18 years I've always been like, hey, if you need me while you're observed, let me know.
I
I
got
will pull
one.
that kid out.
Yeah, it was a full fifth grade class mixed in with a second special ed class,
Mm-hmm.
and that special ed class is 12 kids, right? And they're supposed to only be 12. But for clusters, you can push them in, to your class while you're working. And then I got observed like that with the double classes in there. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the one where she took him for a walk, because that was a whole challenge in itself. How do you make this work? And, not have any of those kids slip through the cracks and everything like that. But yeah, that's doubling up, which would happen a lot to clusters. Most clusters I know, like hate it, but don't really fight it because, you know,
Yeah.
you don't want to lose your cluster gig, be too big a pain in the butt.
There are also like kind of unspoken or unofficial incentives between like administration and teacher, so like they're a teacher, the administration who might have the kind of the thing where it's like, well, if you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours kind of thing. So it's like,
I mean, that was my first
yeah,
principal's
yeah.
rule.
So maybe
Right.
if you show up to an event where you're not going to get paid or per session, but the school needs to have representatives there, maybe if you show up to those things, then when it comes time to ask for leaving early or coming in late because of
Right.
something, you know what I mean? Like it's
Or
like no
extra preps
extra
or
preps. Like it's like, oh,
whatever.
no
Yeah.
problem. I'll make it happen. That kind of thing. So that's
Well,
also
I'm going to be honest, like I get that,
sure, of course.
right? Like that to me, yeah. Like if a
But
teacher's,
yeah,
you know, I don't want to say it's I don't want to say it's blanket. Like it's not always like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Like it shouldn't always be like that.
no,
But there trying to help me out here.
no. It's basically
Well,
like there's a one way of doing things is where everything can be by the book to the letter, and then those things wouldn't exist because the teachers wouldn't go to those things because in the union it says like if the teachers could kind of be really strict with what the union says we do or don't have to do, and they could take that to the letter. Like I'm going to walk out of here at whatever, like 3:05 p.m. every single day on the dot. Like, and you can't stop me and don't even try, and then, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying like, that's the example of doing it to the letter, and then
Right.
there's the other way where it's like, we have some flexibility here and we're all part of the same system. And if we support each other, we can work out like little agreements. But I think like what's important though is to say, you know, any teacher would appreciate having that, right? But then
Yeah.
so then you shouldn't turn around and say, oh, we shouldn't give incentives to the kids. You know what I mean? Like it's all part of the same thing. And,
Right.
a lot of times I think people mistake incentives with like gamification as well, which is another thing that some people have a problem with. And when it's done wrong, it's horrible. But when it's done right, it's brilliant. And it's like, it can be really, it can be really rewarding for everyone. But like anyone who's against that is kind of a hypocrite because every one of us, first of all, anyone who's working expects a salary. They want to get promotions. You know what I mean? They want to get, you know what I mean? They want to get benefits from working in a system or whatever. And
Right.
so, we should offer that same sort of thing to our students, even though we don't have to. But also outside of the workplace, like everyone on some level participates in some sort of a point system, like whether it's on your credit card or your Starbucks card or your local coffee shop has a punch card. Like that's all
Right.
that's all gamification. I mean, all of it, and so it's really everywhere. It's not like, there's really no one on earth now who doesn't participate in gamification in some way and benefit from it and enjoy it.
my son, Dylan's 15 now, but when he was in third grade, I remember his teachers would take them out for lunch, like tables that did like, they would kind of work it out so that everybody gets to go. But I remember if they did like, like they got like points or something to a certain level, they would get out, like they would go out with them. They would actually just spend their money and take them out for like Chinese food
Hmm.
and something, like leave the school. So like, and he went a few times a year. He remembers that now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was so cool of them. They were just the best, man. Like it was such a cool class. I always say like, that that's like on his list as like, the greatest teachers he ever had.
I mean,
He never
that's
he
pretty
never
amazing.
forgot. Yeah, what are you, like 7 years old? 8 years later, he never forgot those incentives that year. That's,
Right.
What Sam remembers? The teacher, multiple years actually, teachers who gave out what are called fuzzies, like these little fuzzy things that were supposed to represent a currency. And when you save up your fuzzies, you can cash them in for the toy box or whatever, right? But what he remembers are the teachers who started the system in the beginning of the year, September, October, November, him gathering up his fuzzies because he's always so good in school. And then, these lame duck teachers like just fall, like letting the entire system fall apart. And so then you have kids with all these fuzzies that don't like, they have no, it's almost like our currency system, like It's almost like the dollar like losing all of its
I
value.
hate when that happens.
You know what I mean?
It's
Like
horrible.
and
Yeah.
then it's so demotivating. It's like, and, and he would still be just as good as he was. There was no difference, but he gets this lesson that like that's a lie. You know what I mean? Like that like this thing that I got excited about and I had an expectation for it. The teacher didn't care enough to keep it going, basically.
Yeah, you got to keep it going. Hey, Rob, do you remember?
Yes,
I remember
there
you mentioned your the red container. Do you remember when you would do the videos for the graduation, and
Yeah.
then right at the end you did a video of me in the blue box that I was going to give them the secret
Yes.
to
Yes.
the blue, and you put it. So Rob does this whole emotional video at graduation, showing the kids from when they're 5 years old to like when they're 10 or 11 graduating, right? And people are crying and everything. It's like beautiful. I think it was like to the song "The Luckiest" by Ben Folds. I always remember that. You picked that song a lot,
Yeah. Every year.
Great, yeah, great song. And right at the end of it, we worked this out. So I was doing this magic trick all year. It was like a blue box, and I would change the direction, and they never could figure out how I would always get the color inside, and they still couldn't figure it out. So and then they're graduating, and realizing, you know what, we're not going to know the secret. He's not telling us. And then right at the end of the video, right, and they knew they were going to get a prize if they get it, but nobody got it. So right at the end, finally, at least they'll get the secret. And the Rob shows it stops, and then there's just a video of me on the screen, and I'm by the piano right now.
Yeah. It's
So,
like
but
a
then it's just a
post-credit.
video of it.
It's
Right,
like a
so there's
post-credit scene.
and it's a video, and I'm just sitting there, and I just go, "The secret of the blue box revealed." And then like they all do like this, and they all just sit up.
Everything gets
right?
silent. Yeah. It was like
Silent, and the parents don't know what to make of this, but the kids just get quiet.
It's like-
and I'm like, he's gonna tell us now. Like now,
Yeah,
he's gonna
yeah.
tell us. And then I'm like, and I'm about to show them, and I'm like, I think we'll keep it a mystery. And then it goes back, to the nice music at the end. And you just hear, "Ah!"
Well, I was going to say, what was their reaction?
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
no, it was like such a moan. And I think you worked out with the music would then go back on at the end.
See, what I love about that is that every single one of those students knew exactly what you had. How many students? How many fifth graders? Say it was like 100.
500.
Say it was like
No,
100.
No, not 500. Like maybe 100.
Say it was
Like
100
yeah.
kids
No.
graduating, right?
Yeah, you had more than 500, but only 100 something were graduating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So say you had 100 kids sitting there. They all sat up straight. They were waiting for that answer, and all of the adults except you two knew what. Like they had no idea what was happening. That's the best. That's the best part of the story.
Yeah.
Is that everybody else was out. Like all those children knew about the box. They wanted to know what was in it. No one else.
But that was also the kind of teachers, like that Rob and I is that we would actually, hang out and be like, like, because he's telling me he's putting this thing. I was like, I don't know who said it first, but it was just like whoever it was just like, we should have like a video of you deciding to show them and then just not show them at the end, and like we had said, no, we had to do it during graduation, and I'm like,
and they'll never forget it.
And then we're like, there's 400 people there. We're gonna just, we have to.
Matt, do you know, like for me anyway, where like stuff like the red bucket and that like little scene that we did really, really came from?
You had a mentor.
No.
I know. What?
No, so this you'll appreciate this. Brugge's gonna hate this, but we're gonna go to Rocky 1.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
And we're gonna go to the scene where Rocky goes up the stairs and approaches Mick, and they have a conversation because he wants Mick to train him. And then, Rocky flips out and he's like, all these years I've been coming to the gym and all these years have been like, and I want to know why. You don't
want to know.
No, he goes, you don't want to know.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
And you don't want to know. Then they do that a few times. I want to know. You don't want to know.
I want to
know how.
Yeah. But basically,
all right, I'm going to tell you. All right,
guys,
go ahead, Rob.
Why can't you use the analogy with like Mr. Miyagi? Because
no, because that's not. Because listen,
let him finish
Brugge,
his point.
all right. When I say this, you're gonna realize how important Rocky is. Well, I'm going to say exactly. This is what I used to do with the kids. I would
You
say to
don't
the
even
kids,
want to know what the motion I'm making right
No,
now.
this
No,
is a
no,
great.
no. Just
He's gonna
listen.
say a great quote right now.
Yes,
Go
listen.
ahead.
Okay.
Do you remember, Broogie, when I would like basically get up on the microphone and I would say to the like, it didn't matter what it was. I can say to the kids like, you know, the winner of the winner of the game today, because we would play that like the board that like game show type thing in the auditorium,
Yeah.
right? Is, and then I'd be silent and they'd be all be listening. And then, you remember when I would go like, did I ever tell you about the time when I went to the,
Yes.
but that all comes from this scene where it's like, hey, then I'd be like, okay, do you guys want to know? Yeah, we
That's
want
where
to
you
know.
got it.
You want to know? Yeah, we want to know. You don't want to know. And then that's directly from Rocky 1. Like all
Dude,
of that.
I stole that from you. I've been using that. My whole
I
teaching career, I
hate you
used
right now
that.
because I've been using that
Because
too.
you love it. You're using
Oh, you
Rocky
use it
1.
also?
You're using Rocky 1 lore in your practice, Brookie, and you don't know it.
How far do you go? How far do you after you say? Did I ever tell you about the time? And then they're
Yeah.
mumbling. Do you improvise like a little bit of a
Yeah,
story
yeah, yeah.
underneath your
I
breath?
always,
Yeah. I do it also. Yeah, I'm like,
yeah,
yeah. Did I ever tell you about the time? Then like, oh, and I'm like, oh, so I was driving down to Mexico with a couple of my
yeah.
friends, right? And then
See, you're
and
better
sometimes
than
just
me.
one.
Mine always, for some reason, I always start talking about a time I went on a roller coaster. I don't even.
Okay, roller coaster.
I'm like,
I'm
that
always
time at the
driving to
time when I was
Mexico
on the
for some
roller
reason.
coaster, and and like I just like I know it doesn't go anywhere, but for some reason I'm not
Yeah.
even. See, like, you're better. You're so much better at
Yeah,
like at
I'm on
improv.
I'm on a road trip
Yeah,
down, Mexico for the weekend.
yeah. I was talking to a tortoise, and he said,
So I picked up my buddies, right? We're going down there, right?
"Yeah,
We're going 70 on the highway, right? Sometimes there's
Imagine
one kid listening. Hey, stop. Like, did
I
you really
your
actually
go to
story was
Mexico?
like,
I did that before the red bucket reveal. Actually, like that was the intro to the red bucket reveal.
We've done it together a few times when
Yeah, oh
I
yeah.
was there. Yeah. Mr.
I'm
Jacobs is going to
laughing.
tell you.
You would do the drum roll on the piano, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then you're like, let me tell you about the time that I was like, go, bong.
Uh,
Drew, I didn't know you took that also.
I did.
yeah.
Who do you do it with? Like your groups of kids?
I don't do it anymore. I did it when I did the auditorium because it was out of control. So in order for me to like calm them down, I did exactly what you did. I would be like, "Are you ready?" And then, and then
You're
I
not
would
ready.
say, "You're not ready." And then I'd say, "Are you ready?" And then I'd be like, "Did I ever tell you about the time?" But I never made up a
Yeah.
story. They would all groan. And then I'd say, "No, I'm just kidding." But yeah, that's really funny that you got that from Rocky. I hate that you got that from Rocky.
Yeah. And I
I
love that you hate
didn't
it.
know you got it from them.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna tell like the big emotional line, like, "Hey, okay, I'm gonna tell you, you had the guts to become a good fighter."
Yeah. No, no.
I was like, I guess that makes no sense. I was gonna say like, like change it to like, you had the guts to be a great student, but instead of that, you're wasting your time.
I always wonder if that was actually part of the script. When Mickey makes that moment, like when Mickey goes, "You don't want to know."
I want to know.
Yeah. I want to know how.
Oh my God. Guys, if this is going to be another fucking
Okay, I guess this episode
verbatim line
I guess
from
this
Lost,
I guess this episode has to be marked explicit.
Thanks,
I-
Broogie. Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I I have a truck driver mouth.
It's only a checkbox that I have to check. It's okay.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
I think most of them
You
have
guys
it
can
on.
beat me out. If you need to beat me out or cut me out.
No,
it's
too
fine.
much work. We're just gonna let people know what kind of
No,
a
we
potty
don't
mouth
have
you
to.
have.
No, we didn't.
I may have cursed in other ones too. Did you have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like
We got it. We just
oh,
marked them all explicit now if you're gonna be on, so it's
geez
okay.
Louise.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
it's time to start
Thanks,
wrapping
Broogie.
this up.
Yeah,
This
I
was a
gotta
nice,
go.
clean episode until Broogie came on.
Yeah.
All right. Yep.
So
All
we
right.
talked about George the Animal Steel today. We all agreed
Yep.
without having spoken beforehand. exactly who George the Animal Steel reminds us of.
Yep.
A person we formerly
Which
worked
teacher?
with, and
Yes,
Yep.
100%.
yeah,
Yes,
and
yes,
there's
yes.
there wasn't even any discussion. I mean, it was like 100 immediately. We all thought the same thing,
Yep.
and I encourage everyone out there to play that game with your co-teachers if you're a teacher and you're listening.
Don't
And
throw chairs though. Yeah.
yep, and we talked about incentives, all different types, whether it's student, teacher, or
Yeah, so we did stick to topic, right?
We did. 30 minutes in. Yeah, we did.
Yep. And we got our mandatory Rocky reference in, which we're gonna do every single episode
We'll try to. I think
No.
we'll try.
until Broogie
No.
watches the full
No,
until she
Yeah.
watches Rocky 1
guys,
through
I'm
6,
not watching
basically.
it. No,
Should
that's
we
ridiculous.
just stick to Rocky 1 as the reference, or go for any of the Rockies?
No, we go to anyone.
Okay, anyone. Okay.
That's
This
fine.
is excessive. There's no way I'm watching Rockies 1 through 6. That's ridiculous. I mean, how many hours of that man do I have to?
And then you should probably watch Creed too. You know,
Yeah. Creed 1, 2, and 3. Even
1
though
and 3. No, Creed 1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not watching it. Crap.
You are.
No.
No, I think it would help. I think it would help for what we're doing here.
I'm gonna play in the background of a podcast. I'm gonna play the Ballad of Rocky Balboa on Spotify.
Oh my God.
That's a good idea.
Beautiful little medley. Okay.
Guys, I don't know why I have such a reaction to it. I hate it. I hate it so much.
No, you watched it with us in the lab. And,
I disliked the movie. I didn't understand it. It
we
made
did a
no
special
sense.
screening for you.
Adrian, I didn't understand what you guys
When do you like all right, do you like underdog stories? Why did I say that? Sorry. Do you like underdog stories? Underdog stories.
Like the Bad
I
News
know,
Bears,
no, guys,
Rudy.
I know what an underdog story is. I'm thinking.
You didn't answer
if
me. Okay.
Because I was thinking, I mean, Rudy is one of the best, but like Bad
I
News
love
Bears
Rudy.
sucks.
Okay.
I don't know.
So what is so if this is a club fighter, right? Which is basically fighting for peanuts. He just got his brain smashed in. He gets like
No,
$5.
do not go into it. I'm not.
No. I know. I'm just saying. And then he gets a shot at the heavyweight championship of the world. What's the greatest? What's a greater underdog story than that? You just said you love underdog stories. So it's the greatest underdog story ever told.
I have no comment. No, I don't know.
Oh, well, I don't. I'll take it. I don't know. That means you really have to think about it more.
We are gonna have a screening one day.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
We did have a screening.
You know, there's going to be a special episode of the podcast where that's what we're watching the movie and we're commentating, kind of like Mystery Science Theater.
That would be fun.
I'll do that, but then I need to pick a movie.
Okay,
I will
fine.
100% do that, but then I need to pick a movie because
so we
I'm
watch
not
Rocky, and then you
sound so stupid.
No.
All right.
I want
so
to
we'll
know
watch
more.
Rocky 1 through 6, and then you pick one movie.
No.
That's fair.
No, you have listen. If you make it through Rocky 1, you can pick a movie. There's an incentive.
Yeah. And by the way, Rocky
you
6
go.
is actually called Rocky Balboa, but it's still Rocky 6.
We call
Yeah,
it. You know, if you're in the know, you say Rocky 6, kind of, but it's understood that it's called Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa. Yeah. And I think Brugge doesn't care about that.
I mean, I like Mr. T and the Russian guy. So what movies were they in?
3 and 4.
Rocky 3 and 4.
All right, I would watch one of those.
No, the deal is we're gonna watch Rocky 1, and then you can choose a movie.
Fine.
Okay.
And Mr. T played Clubber Lang.
Clubber Lang.
And Dolph Lundgren played Drago. Ivan Drago.
Okay. All right, I'll pick whatever. You guys have to comment. We have to have comment. What was that Mystery Science Theater? Those two guys in
Commentary.
the robot.
Commentary.
Commentary. Yeah.
We want.
I pity the fool who can't do commentary.
Because I'm curious to know what Brugge dislikes about the first. I think once we do this, she's gonna realize. Oh, wait a minute! I love this movie. I don't hate this movie.
I'm going to be scoffing the entire time with eye rolls.
Can I ask you something? Because you watched it though. You know, did you didn't really feel the connection to the Talia Shire Adrian's character in it? And love story. It's
I
also a
thought-
love story.
I thought everybody was stupid.
Well, she's not the
Really?
brightest cat.
Even
you know,
Father,
they,
even
they,
Father Carmine,
but
he was
I
stupid,
mean,
huh?
yeah,
The priest, stupid, huh?
But
you know,
every
it's a little bit ages too. Calling Mickey stupid. You know,
Yeah, really.
he's
Burgess
just
Meredith was stupid.
trying his best. He's getting another shot. He never really got to that level.
if you
Okay.
put Rocky next to Rudy, Rudy is by far a better movie. Yes?
I'm not
No?
going to take anything away from Rudy.
Rudy's a great movie. Yeah,
It's a
movie.
it's a great film, but I think just the greatest underdog story. Well, this is a fictional story. Rudy's based on a true story, but as far as the greatest underdog story, I just think you can't beat this story.
I beg
The
to differ.
concept of it. Club fighter gets a shot at the world championship. I mean,
Once
what's great?
Once again, before we do the outro, which doesn't really exist, but Matt's going to just do it anyway. I'm going to just say one word that I'm going to end with for myself, and this is Brugge's not going to understand this word until we watch the movie, and that word is butkus.
Yeah. Okay. Well, please like and subscribe to our channel. You know, I can say that now.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Our channel, our podcast, which is found on all of the major podcast places, right? Like,
right.
I couldn't even name them all. We're on so many places, I can't even name them all.
Right.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Right. Or go to playingteacher.com if you'd like to drop us a note on there and let you know if you have a topic that you're interested in us talking about. Let us know.
Yep, and we're gonna start having our guests on to one of the first. Yeah, will be Matt, your connection.
I have a potential guest, a friend of my wife's, who's interested. So and he's a teacher. So hopefully, I know he wants to do it. So hopefully, we'll have him on. And he's definitely out of the box thinker, teacher. So it should be interesting.
Okay.
Well, it's been a blast, guys. Thanks for stopping by to Playing Teacher. I'm Matt. This is Rob, and that's Beanie, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.